Nate Human here with ND Wrestle with NDSU assistant coach Jarrod Garnett. Do you want to tell us about your moving out to North Dakota from out east? Coming up on 2 years, what's that been like? Do you consider yourself a North Dakotan yet?
Yeah, pretty much. At this point, I'm starting to get used to a little different way of life. I spent probably about 25 years of my life out on the East Coast. Family's originally from Pennsylvania, and then spent my years growing up in Delaware. Went to school at Virginia Tech, and then coached in Pennsylvania for a couple years. Moved out here in October of 15 to start coaching at NDSU. So it's been a good change. I like it. I have an opportunity to have a huge impact on a up-and-coming, growing program in the Big 12. And so it's been a pretty enjoyable move so far. Working with Coach Kish and Coach Nagel has been a great experience for me. Especially since Kish was a guy that took over the program as a pretty young guy right out of college. So it's actually been pretty good to learn from a guy like that.
Okay, so recently you went down with the Team North Dakota to junior duels. Why, as a Division I head coach, take time out of your busy schedule and your recruiting schedule to go help out Team North Dakota?
I think it's good for the kids. I think the more college coaches we can get involved with something like this. I look at a lot of the successful club teams and national teams, and obviously I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. Looking at how they run things. Looking at how the Pinnacle and the Minnesota national teams run things, and they are so often able to get all their kids together just because they don't have to travel as far. You look at North Dakota, the kids are spread out everywhere from, one side, in Fargo all the way, to the opposite side of the state, and it's hard to get everyone in one central location often enough, to be able to have a huge impact and be as efficient as we could be. So when you look at, going out to junior duels, I think it's a great experience for the coaches at the college level, whether it's, Division I, Division II, Division III, doesn't really matter. It's important for these kids that we're there, trying to get to know them, because obviously we don't spend time with these kids on a regular basis. So, it's a good bonding experience. It's fun for the kids, and they appreciate having, both high school coaches and college coaches there with them. So for me, it was pretty much a no-brainer. I know when Manny Rivera was with us last year, he went out. He's since moved on to go coach at Bakersfield, and Melmer got a hold of me this year and wanted me to go out, and I thought it was a great idea, not only for our program, but also for Team North Dakota, and getting to know these kids and watch their success and help them out and, get them some different levels of coaching and different styles of coaching that perhaps they haven't seen before.
Okay, so decent finish from a North Dakota team. Actually, one of the better finishers we've had recently, especially in the freestyle side of things. We're pretty close to even moving up, if I remember right, looking at the results, finishing a little higher, lost some really close duels. Is there anything that you saw that you really liked out of our guys heading into Fargo Nationals, and is there anything that you think we really need to focus on?
I think the one thing that the kids did really well is after we got done Greco, we had some pretty good duels with some teams. And we sat them down before we started freestyle, and we said, hey, this is about you guys getting out there and go and compete hard. No one's going to respect you. You gotta go out there and earn it. You gotta make them respect you. Just compete hard. And I think we saw that with a team like when we wrestled the Ohio national team. They actually threw out a tweet to us on Twitter talking about how hard our guys competed. How tough they were. When we wrestled Missouri in freestyle, that was a really close duel, and we were probably one match away. We lost by 3 points, one match away from being in the silver pool, and potentially taking top 8, which is a big deal, But I think just that competitive edge, is one thing that we can continue to improve on, because that makes a big deal in these matches. You can have all the technique in the world if you don't know how to go out and throw it out on the line and compete, and wrestle through positions, which is another thing I'd say that we need to work on, is just wrestling through and not stopping too early, because that's typically what some of the best guys do. They just wrestle through positions,
especially
1 second longer.
Especially in freestyle, right?
Yes, especially in freestyle. Guys will hit a move and they'll kind of pause, and we worked on it today actually. We hit a move and we kind of pause because we scored, and then the guy comes out on top, and then now he's got a gut locked up or a lace, and now he wipes out our 2-point move, our 4-point move, whatever it was. So, But I'd say a couple things to work on and were those positions. But I mean, the competitive edge that those guys had and the camaraderie and how much they support each other was a pretty big deal.
Okay. Moving on from that, you want to talk about your incoming recruiting class? I know you can't really, your guys coming in this fall, I know you can't really talk about your recruiting class. You're still doing home visits and things like that, but do you want to talk about the guys that are going to be coming in this fall?
Yeah, I think we got a group of good guys coming in. Probably, we got 2 hometown guys, which is super important to us to keep, these North Dakota kids home in North Dakota and not want to go anywhere else. So we got Jesse Shearer, we got Brandon Metz coming in. Super excited about those guys. They both have great work ethic. They already know each other very well, and they're coming in with a lot of experience because they've wrestled with our guys a ton. Through our club, during the off season, all that type of stuff. So they've been getting some great coaching at West Fargo. They've been coming into our room, rubbing elbows with our guys, spending time with us. And so they may be a little bit ahead of the curve. But we also got a guy like Jaden Van Manen coming in from Wisconsin who we're pretty excited about, who will be probably wrestling 49, maybe 57 down the road. But he's a pretty talented wrestler, super hard to score on, really funky, super flexible. And he's a guy that we think can come in and be pretty successful right away. And then we got McGuire Midkiff from Iowa, he's your typical Iowa wrestler. He loves to grind, loves to get hard on the head, loves to train, wrestles super hard. He had some great wins out in Tulsa actually, and beat some kids that were ranked, so that's good to see, just him still having some of that success. And then we got actually a transfer coming in, Michael Adamo, who's coming in from Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin lacrosse, I believe it is, and he'll wrestle 74 for us. He'll look to challenge guys like Dylan Urbach, and obviously Jesse will redshirt his first year at 74. And then we got Austin Braun coming in from Minnesota out in Woodbury, and then we got our Montana connection going now with Sawyer Dagan, brother of Jarrod Dagan, who wrestles for Virginia Tech. So.
Yeah, that's a big pickup, because his brother ended up going all the way out and following I think probably the Zadok trail there.
Yeah.
The Montana connection with Zadok, and you guys kind of, I wouldn't say stole, but you kind of got a connection back with the Montana guys. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think that's pretty good. We had, Trent Sprankle, and we've had a bunch of, that's probably the most notable name that people will recognize, but we've typically had a handful of Montana kids on the roster every year, and I think now we're trying to get back to that a little bit. There's been a couple that we were recruiting that left. I think one went to Campbell, and there was another guy that I forget where he committed to. But, just being able to get back in that state and now developing that relationship with the Dagan family. He's got a pretty successful club, Terry does, out there in Montana, in that Bozeman area. So he's actually going to have us come out, do a couple camps, next summer. And I think that'll be good just to develop that relationship and pipeline all over again. So.
Yeah, sounds good. Any chance we'd see any of those true freshmen crack the lineup next year, barring like injuries to any of your starters, or is it just hard to say for right now?
It's always hard to say, but it's possible. I mean, you see it before, but the big thing for us and probably a lot of college coaches is just if the kid's ready, he's ready. You look at a Mark Hall, they pulled his red shirt, clearly he was ready. So I mean, when you look at a kid, if he's coming in and he's adjusting very well. He's coming in, he's beating guys that have already been in our program for a couple years that have had some success. He's blowing up the red shirt schedule and going out to all the opens and beating some solid kids. It's always something that you look at. It's always hard to call it early, but it's certainly possible. I could see us possibly starting 2 true freshmen if we wanted. But at that same time, it's the guys that have the experience, that goes a long ways as well. And it's a lot different going from a redshirt schedule straight to a competitive, D1, Big 12 schedule.
Making weight every week kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because your redshirts probably wrestle maybe every other week, every 2-3 weeks with these opens, and then they get so spread out, and it's tough. It's a little bit different, but the experience goes both ways. Whether they spend the redshirt year, they learn, they grow, you see some of their holes, or the other way, they go through a competitive schedule and then you really see what they need to work on and they get that hands-on experience, redshirt the following year. And so we've had both. We've had the pull guys for different reasons, but You know, it's nice to have an experienced team, and I think this is the first time that we're going to see an NDSU wrestling team that doesn't start, 2-3 freshmen or 2-3 first timers in the lineup. Pretty much everyone that's going to be in the lineup next year, for the most part, outside of where we graduated guys at 25 and heavyweight, everyone's going to be a returner, which is good.
Okay. Do you want to talk about when we're going to see your schedule finalized? When are we going to know our Big 12 schedule and our non-conference schedule for NDSU wrestling?
Yep, so the Big 12 did something different this year. What they're going to do is they're going to kind of start to mirror the Big 10. So the Big 10 scheduling gets done for them. They get, I think, 9 duels. Big 10 schedules it for them. They get 5 home, 5 away, and then just flip-flop the next year. So what the Big 12 has done now is they gave us 6 duels, told us who we have to wrestle, where it's going to be. So we get 3 Big 12 home duels home, 3 away. And so we have 15 and 16 dates done right now. So you're probably looking at seeing a schedule by the time school starts, I'd say at least. We got to get the schedule finalized with that last date. We got to get the contracts out, signed. Once we get all that stuff signed and back, just to make sure those are confirmed, then we can look to release the full schedule. We've thrown out some teasers. Obviously you're looking at probably our first competition this year is going to be at Iowa, November 17th. At the Iowa City Duels, and then we'll follow that right up with a tough UNI match at West Gym, and then we come back home, we wrestle Oklahoma State, and then we go right out to Vegas, and then we have Central Michigan at home, and then wrestle Utah Valley, and then go right to Reno, and then we get something different this year with South Beach Duels, which is kind of a different, unique. It's like a Virginia Duels, and it's the same week as Midlands, which is nice. So we're going to take a year off of Midlands, see how the South Beach Duels go. And then we'll follow that up with a couple of away duels with, West Virginia and Pittsburgh. And then we'll take a week off. We'll come back home. I think we got like Wyoming or something like that. So, we got a lot of different types of teams scheduled. We got some ACC teams that'll be in there that we'll see down at South Beach Duels. We got some Big 12 teams, Big 10 teams. So we're gonna mix it up this year. Things are gonna be different, and it'll be a pretty tough schedule when it comes out. It'll be pretty exciting when fans get their eyes on the full schedule this year and see how competitive it is and see the experience that these guys will have, because that's really what it is the experience and being seasoned, and really make sure these guys are prepared to wrestle a hard, tough Big 12 tournament, especially now with adding 2 more teams with
Yep.
UNI and Fresno, and then even tougher national tournament. So
They'll be ready.
absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to add or share with us?
No, for right now, it's just an exciting time to be a part of Bison Wrestling. We're constantly looking to evolve, constantly looking to change. And I think fans saw a bit of it last year just with us having the new facility, to compete in and practice in. We were able to do some different, unique things from the fan experience. And I think that's what we're looking to always improve with some different promotions, some highlights videos, turning out the lights, getting some lasers, some smoke, some fire, really making it a true fan experience. So these fans want to show up early because there's stuff going on that they don't want to miss. They don't want to be walking in right when the first whistle's blowing. They want to see the show that happens for the 10 minutes prior to the duel, which is pretty good. So we're just always looking to have people support, Bison Wrestling and North Dakota Wrestling in general. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.